Phil, here we are once again with another Budget Precon episode. This time, we're going to do Imposter. As always, the link for that deck is below if you want to purchase this deck. It's $100. Let's see what the actual price is. Give me 1 second, Phil. All right, here we go. Price of this deck is $97.96 before shipping. Another $8 for shipping brings you to $106.8 when you use the TCG cart optimizer. So, yeah, you got a pretty viable, I think, for the metagame deck here in Imposter with all the avatars included.
Yeah, that was going to be the big thing, is like, how do you get all of the avatars that you want on the budge?
Yeah, and it is possible. In fact, so let's show this off here. Now we had to make some concessions. You can't include like Avatar Vera. That's going to be above the cost amount, but you can get a pretty solid deck together here. And I'm going to zoom this in just a touch so people can really get an eyeful here. Excalibur Events is hosting 2 Sorcery Contested Realm weekends you do not want to miss.
Pittsburgh on July 11th and 12th. Columbus on July 25th and 26th. Excalibur Events is running 2 $2,000 tournaments for players to show up, contest the realm, and prove why Sorcery belongs on the big stage.
Use code Zac or code Phil in the link below at checkout to get a discount on entry and directly support our channel and the future of Sorcery events.
Excalibur is also working with Sorcery artists to put together something special for the winners if the turnout is high enough at these events.
You'll get to contest the realm with creators like Old Fashioned Nerds, Archives of the Realm, and you might even hear Lord of Itza yell, "Sorcerers!" live.
To expand the realm we love, show up, play hard, and let tournament organizers like Excalibur Events know Sorcery should be supported year-round.
Back to the show. Okay, so we're rocking Imposter, right? And we've got, and just make sure that everything's here. Yeah, 60. This is a 60, 30, 10. So you're getting the whole 100 here. So we got Imposter, of course, a pair of Acid Rains, 3 Torch Hammer Trinkets, and then we're just rocking like a Steam, like aggro kind of list here. So we're doing Red Mane Hyenas because you got to eat your vegetables, Violimps, Warhorses, Fanatics, Dragonettes, Fey Changeling. So we're super tempo here. Kobolds, Red Cap Prowies, Sir Agravain, because if you're gonna have Kobolds, right, you might as well rock Sir Agravain. Then you've got Monstrous Lions, Saracen Raiders, Self-Same Simulacrum. You got your Giants package, Infernal Legion, and Lord of Lies. Now, Phil, you'll note I dive into Fire Threshold a lot here. What do you think that is?
Why are you diving into fire?
Why are you diving into Fire Threshold specific?
You've stumped me.
Flamecaller, my guy.
Oh,
Secret Flamecaller.
Yeah, that's right. You like the the Flamecaller endgame.
Yeah, that's nice. Like, oh, I'm gonna end the game. You know, oh, I'm gonna use all these guys and hit your opponent, right? And then we got dodge roll, give the Serpent, Major Explosion, swap, which is a nice little like. This is like, to me, one of the higher level budget precons because you can do a lot with this deck. And again, like I say this with every one of these decks, you're probably not going to win a tournament with them, but you're definitely going to win some games if you go to your local.
I can see this. I mean, this one's pretty clean, straightforward. Like, you know, all good cards. The only one that's maybe out there is dodge roll, but like, there's no way we're getting rid of that. Dodge roll to keep it so that your imposter can't get tapped.
Yeah, that's the whole. You know, that's the whole point, right? Like,
yeah, but also like nobody is playing around dodge roll, right? And like the second they see the first dodge roll, then they have to like start spewing their minions in different directions in order to actually get you, because they want to be able to, like, you know, calibrate for the dodge roll. And that's just sweet. That's something that like people haven't actually had to engage with, right? Like there is no instant speed interaction in this game. So dodge roll being one of the 2 spells that actually get to be played on your opponent's turn, like suddenly your opponent has to think about like what you might have at 0 mana. Like, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I like dodge roll a lot. And then give the Serpent so that you can trade your little guys for your opponent's big guys, you know? But swap to me is like the real like choice card in this deck, because you can take, you know, a you know, what would normally be like a turn 3 kobolds, right? Later in the game, it's turn 6, and you're like, oh man, my opponent is just not in the, you know, like they're on death's door, but I just can't get them to die. And you're like, oh, cool. Kobolds swap with whatever they've got, and then the kobold strikes them, and then that ends the game, you know?
Yeah. I think
Poison Nova, of course, for a little board control, and then of course Infiltrate which to me, it's crazy that Infiltrate's still a budget option because this card, even with people playing cards like Watchtower and stuff like that, this card's still like just one of the best answers to your opponent's giant dudes.
Yeah, you just got to be mindful of it with all of the with like the projectiles that you might shoot. To just be mindful. Does projectiles hit stealth? No. Yes.
It should not. Projectile should not hit stealth.
I always forget, man. I the only stealth that I really have played with recently is Morgana, and I'm always casting something off of her immediately, so I never actually get to interact with stealth all that much. But
the big thing to worry about actually is in the event that like a silence comes down or your opponent throws a root spider underneath of this, then they'll get control of their guide.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like first, like, looking in the collection, Archie is there, but there's only 16 magics in this deck. But if you think about the how impactful each of the cards that you might flash back, like you're not going to be able to flash back dodge roll. That's just not something that you're going to be able to do as part of Archie's ability. So really, it's 13 magics. But if you look at all of the magics that you might be interested in flashing back with Archie, they're all pretty critical spells. So like Poison Nova is a swing, like if you convert and then are able to Poison Nova to clear something out, that's going to be huge. Same thing with Infiltrate. Swap can also like give you a bunch of distance, either to close the game or to like help you stabilize with your imposter, so you just get something away from you. And then your Gift of the Serpents is like that's your bread and butter to be able to turn on both. Now, I think Archimago is probably going to be less likely in this deck because you have to flash back 3 magics to then copy one, so you have to find a bunch of these. But if you have the slot available in your collection, just like being able to turn into Archie to copy one of your big swingy plays, like an Infiltrate or Poison Nova, can definitely be worth it if you're going late. Like if they've somehow managed to sneak through your first wave of like smaller creatures, let's say they're just going thicker than you, then Archimago can be a nice way to swing the game with just the additional Poison Novas.
Yeah. Archimago is also great to fade your opponent on a Legion of Gaul. Like this is a card that, like, if I were to see this in my opponent's collection and I cast Legion of Gaul, first thing I'm going after is Archimago.
Yeah,
like,
and it's typically going to.
I don't want you getting that kind of value.
It'll typically be in the collection by the time they convert a Legion of Gaul, right? Like every time you're using Imposter, the first thing that you're going to be doing is like moving into Pathfinder or maybe moving into Sorcerer. So it's like those cards are going to be the ones that are your bread and butters that you're always going to convert into when the time is right. But like, your Enchantress is really just for like that matchup and to be able to remove auras, right? Like that's not, you're not.
Yeah. You're playing Enchantress defensively here. You're not like, ooh, I'm going to get them with the Acid Rain.
Yeah.
But the thing about all of these avatars is that each one of these is a total contender for when you finally do build the real deck. Like every one of these is a card that you could conceivably want. Maybe Wave Shaper is a bit of a stretch, and Wave Shaper is taking the place basically of the Avatar of Air here. But every other one of these is 100% a card that I could see you deciding to put into your fully built imposter deck.
Yeah, I think Interrogator's probably slept on in aggressive imposter lists. Like this card is actually very good. It sort of double dips in that sorcerer space. So like if you're on the front, like if you're on the back foot or at parity, like and you just need to go up a bunch of resources, Sorcerer is good. But if you're already ahead and you have the like a turn to like really press the advantage to make it insurmountable for your opponent, you just turn into an Interrogator when you're already swinging ahead, and they're like not going to be able to afford to take damage in those positions. So you know that every attack is just going to convert some amount of cards, and you're
in an incredibly aggressive deck too. Like between like Saracen Raiders, Wild Fanatic, Warhorse, Violent, all these are very aggressive cards. Of course, the Kobolds and Powies are also.
I think that the space, if anybody was looking for a cut or thought like, you know what, like I don't think that the Archie is necessarily going to be worthwhile for my meta, or you don't think Ironclad's going to be worthwhile because you're the aggro deck, and so you're like, when am I ever going to take a defensive slant? I could also see a world where, because you're aggro, just going into Battle Mage, just like turning your imposter like.
Here's the issue of Battle Mage, Phil.
But I'm saying like because I know that like when you take damage, it takes the mask off. But it is like, if you do think about it, like it's three mana.
No, it's not
and then,
3 damage. You do not copy the. This is a great point. You do not copy the power of the avatar. You just copy the text box.
This is good. We walked into it because I was over here being like, Zach,
I did that initially when I built the imposter. I was like, oh, I'll throw in Battle Mage. But unless you have some way of, one, pumping your avatar, right, and then on top of that, getting your avatar to not take damage, the Battle Mage doesn't work very well in imposter.
No, it's a good call. When you sent me the list, one of the first thoughts in the collection for staying within budget, I was like, well, 3 mana to just like, if you pay 3 mana, but then
deal 3 and draw a card.
Well, I really just to like get in and become a 3-power body, right? Like, if you just like have the time to just
and then start attacking sites or something, right?
Because like, you have war horses in your deck, so like you can move around. You got swaps, you can move around. Like it's like if you were able to just turn into a thicker guy. But it's a good lesson to learn. Like, I have yet to play with imposter, and now it's good to know that when I play against imposter, that I don't have to fear something like that.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I think that's important to point out about a deck like this too is what the common play patterns are the first couple of turns. Generally, like, your turn 1 is nothing. Like, especially for this deck, there's nothing for you to play on 1, right? I think then that's just how it goes with sorcery for the most part, right? Turn 2, generally you want to be playing, either a Violent on and to hit your opponent's guy if you're on the draw, a Warhorse, Wild Fanatic, something like that to start attacking in. Even a early, like a turn 2 Redbane Hyena, just to have a body out there isn't the worst if you know your opponent isn't relying on their cemetery. But then turn 3 is generally when you want to think about, like, do I want to change my imposter into somebody? Now, commonly you don't want to just go, okay, I'm going to play I'll tap to play a site, and then I'll turn my guy into a Pathfinder. Because if your opponent hits you, you're not going to get any of the value out of that Pathfinder, right? So you got to worry about that. But turn 3, you can make these decisions. You can be like, oh, maybe I'll go to Savior, right? Like, maybe I'll turn 3, go to Savior, put a in the next turn you have Savior for the rest for the time being, right? Or you might say, oh, well, hopefully my opponent doesn't have anything, and I'm kind of full up for now. Like, I don't think I need to play any sites for a while. I've got a low casting cost hand. Maybe I'll draw some extra cards with Sorcerer, right?
I think also with 3 Torchhammer Trinkets, there's argument to be made for having a Necromancer in your collection if it doesn't break budget.
Yeah.
Just like having that as another sink just to generate bodies if you're running low on gas. And
for sure, I could see taking Wave Shaper out for that for sure.
Yeah, it's like, just having the additional bodies is always, like, Necromancer is the best avatar in the realm at the moment, and if you can turn into it and get value out of it, and being on 3 Torchhammer Trinkets in your aggressive deck, it's already like you don't have to work to make Torchhammer Trinket good. And
true. Yeah.
That's just like another spot where it's, if you have 4 mana and you're like, oh, well, I don't want to convert this Infiltrate yet, I can turn it into Necromancer and make a Skeleton, because the Necromancer doesn't need to tap the way that like Pathfinder does. Because you have to tap the imposter to wear a mask, right?
Yep, you do. No, you don't have to tap him. You don't have to tap. 3.
Okay, yeah, so even better.
That's why it's important to be able to like turn 4 when you go, I'll pay 3 mana, right? Turn into a Pathfinder, then you can activate your Pathfinder and make a site, right? That's the like best part of that, like, turn 4 play. Mm-hmm. Now, if you were playing air or something like that, you could do it on turn 3 with a
towers, yep,
tower or something like that. But I think that you're better off not just turning into an avatar immediately on turn 3, especially because you are the early game deck, so you're playing a lot of early game stuff. By turn 3, you should definitely have stuff to do. Turn 4, you might decide, like, since you kind of are aggressive and you have control of the board, it might be smart to be like, you know what? I'll draw extra cards. Until my opponent stops me, I'm just going to start drawing extra cards. And you can do that through Pathfinder. You can do that through, what's called, Sorcery.
As we talk about, like, ways to improve the deck once you have a little bit more budget to get other things, I think one of the cool parts of these budget precons is it sort of lets you see, like, what you like when you have the shell to then advance your to improve upon your Atlas. Something that could be cool is if you kept the Archie in the collection, even though you're not dense on magic, if you're playing against Archie, something that's really cool is if you move into getting your mismanaged mortuaries and then convert into your Archie, like you're taking your Archimago cemetery and where they actively are trying to put stuff in there, and then like really start to leverage the fact that like now you're the better version of what they're trying to do because you just get to swap it. So like, you know, you can get into like cool modes like that where you're like, well, I don't really need the Archie anymore. I want to get a different avatar in there because I only got 13 magics that really do anything. But it's like, if you think, well, if I'm going to run into Archie, mismanaged mortuary is already part of the plan to disrupt them. And then if you turn into Archie and then clear their graveyard out, that's just like a nice little A+B, you know.
Yeah. So I want to talk about some of those upgrade options as well, Phil, because you know, there's not a lot to say about the Imposter deck. You're an opportunist deck in this particular scenario. You're trying to attack aggressively and then use your open mana to convert value off of these other avatars. There's not a whole lot to say beyond that. But somebody mentioned that they'd like to see a little bit more discussion from us about what you would bring in as you're looking to upgrade this deck. And of course, you can go on TCG Player. We have a link below. If you click that link and buy cards through that link, you'll be able to support the channel, which is great. Helps us. Doesn't cost you anything. That's always great for us and for you. But let's talk about some of those maybe board cards. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield. They just dropped an advanced search engine for Sorcery: The Contested Realm. If you want to browse every available card or dig deep with powerful search filters, head over to sorcery.moxfield.com. You can even click on the search syntax button on the main page to see all the terms you can use. And don't worry, when new cards are revealed from official sources, Moxfield updates quickly. Now on to the show. So Baba Yaga's Hut, right? Once per turn, this may swap with an empty site on your back row. So this can get you a lot of motion, like move you around a little bit. And then you can even do this with with Pathfinder to like try and like get a little bit of extra movement. Mirror Realm, of course. Classic. Hey, who doesn't love a Mirror Realm? Yeah.
Who doesn't?
River Rapids. These are all the expensive like, you know, between, I think River Rapids is around like $7 or $8, you know, like these are cards that like aren't super expensive, but are a little too expensive to put into a $100 deck.
Yeah, but it's like once you get these upgrades, like you can think like the real basic thing of like River Rapids being able to push your stuff forward just lets you get even more aggressive. You get to play it on your site, push it ahead into their territory, and if you have any of your charge minions, you get an additional step. I mean, between River Rapids and Charge, you're moving on top of them on the other side of the realm. It's like
and then we've got River of Flame, of course, and with River of Flame, you know, you could think about putting in like Pact with the Devil or something like that. This particular version's not adding that to the deck because it would be the only thing you would sacrifice aside from half your life. But, you know, as you're building this deck out, you might think about ways that you can make that work. Valley of Delights, another great fixing card that's a little, I think it's only in the $4 or $5 mark, which makes it a little expensive for this.
And depending on where you want to move with the deck too, you might not need Valley of Delight. You might just find that like with the additional upgrades of your Atlas, like your thresholds are not your problem. So like as you dabble, like you'll get to know whether or not Valley of Delight is even desirable.
Yeah. Now, a card I think, I don't always think the cores are essential to most decks, but I think that there are two avatars where the cores are kind of essential to make them work. One is Battle Mage, because it's better to be attacking than to be developing. And then the other one is for Imposter, because you want to be able to use that mana to preempt your next turns, right? Like, so if you're able to get to 3 mana before your opponent and then switch over, you know, let's say turn 1 is Aquamarine Core, right? Turn 2 is a site and switch, and you know your opponent doesn't like have direct damage or doesn't have access to creatures as early or whatever, you know, then you can be like, cool, I'm going to do this. And, you know, basically setting yourself up to not waste mana and being a step ahead of your opponent. Okay, now turn 4, you don't have to spend any mana on changing, right? You've already done that. I'll move my Pathfinder here. I'll put a guy out. I'll put another guy out. That kind of
I think any of the avatars that have a sync of any kind, it's totally reasonable to like want the cores, and you know, Imposter's obviously one of them. You know, you could also say
especially when you're trading that sync for cards, like if it's Pathfinder or Sorcerer, you know, those are two that are also like defensible for that.
I can see a world where also like the reverse syncs, like, typically you'll see a lot of cores or mana rocks in Sorcerer. That way they can continue drawing cards, and they draw their mana as they continue doing that, so they don't actually have to reach for their Atlas in any way. But it really depends on the build.
Yeah. Then we've got Immolation, which I think is another great tempo play in this deck specifically, because if you're able to immolate somebody's guy, right, that's maybe going to attack you soon, and then switch into another avatar to do something, and then you can even flash back that immolation with your Archimago or something. That's pretty good.
Yeah, there's the value of when you're a tempo list like this that's really leaning hard on the aggressive slant, but then things like Shave Changeling to like deal with the stuff that would otherwise brickwall you. Being able to 2-spell in a turn is really big, and so Immolation, clearing out whatever the biggest thing in your way is, and then cast something else, can really set your opponent on the back foot. You never really want to let your opponent get off their heels.
I would advocate for a Ruby Core here. And then there's also Philosopher's Stone in here. Philosopher's Stone's a little funky in this deck. I don't think it's a must for this deck, just because what Philosopher's Stone is doing for you here is not creating mana. It's just discounting things, so you're not able to use it on your activated ability. But
yeah, I think
in some circumstances, if you're playing a two or three color deck, it can be worth having.
Yeah, I can see a world where, depending on what your curve is, Philosopher's Stone, if it's netting you approximately 2+ mana every turn, then that card's crazy. In a world for like if you add more 1-drops like Immolation, like let's say you have the triple fire threshold, and then Immolation costs 0 and then lets you 2-spell, like that sort of stuff can be really good. So Philosopher's Stone really rewards you for compressing. That way you can actually just fire off a bunch of meaningful spells. So like the next card is Plague of Frogs. So like let's say you had the Philosopher's Stone plus you had the sufficient threshold for both Immolation and Plague of Frogs. The fact that you could fire off both for 0 and then it's like, and then still cast another spell, like that type of swing is epic. Like that'll be a critical turn every time it happens.
Or you do both of these for free, right? And then you turn your guy into a sorcerer and draw a card.
Right. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Ring of Morgan.
Doesn't need much explanation. Yeah.
Same thing with 4 waters. 4 waters, again, a discount, but this will allow you to double spell, which this deck will want to do once you start drawing 2 cards a turn. Not a whole lot to say about 4 waters aside from like if you want to go big, 4 waters is where you go. And there are versions of this deck that want to be more mid range. So I think as you build this deck out, you'll move away from the aggro style list and move more towards a mid range list. It's just the aggro style works on the budget. So I think that's the way to go when you're building this list, and it keeps the cost down as far as your cognitive load on this deck. You really kind of get to understand the value of the imposter as you're playing an aggro list, and you're like, oh, I've run out of cards in my hand. What should I do? Well, I'll pay 3 mana and I'll look through my collection and see what would be the best thing for me to do right now. It really helps you kind of visualize what you're doing this particular list, because you get to those points where you have the open mana and your hand is empty to be like, okay, now what? Right now I understand the power of. Then next up is Jihad. Jihad again. I mean, with either one of these lists, right? Like, always being able to put firemen on your opponent's side and then just have them start bopping your opponent, especially with Violent and with Kobolds.
Let's say that you have endeavored to get any of these precons, and you're like, you know what? Yeah, the aggro stuff really does fit my playstyle. I really enjoy it. I want to continue with that. If you know that you want to stick to being very aggressively slanted, then this is probably your like ideal first pickup. This is going to do the most work for you in any of the space, particularly with Imposter, where you want to keep your opponent away from you. If you play this on your opponent's side of the realm and then start deploying minions there, they're going to want to have to like sort of stem that onslaught from that direction. And so they're probably going to take a back step to try and prevent you from like clocking them too quickly. And that's also going to keep their stuff away from you. So especially if you're on the play and you cast this over onto their side of the realm, it's just really going to dictate the terms of engagement in the early game. And that's exactly what you want to have happen. And then it'll also give you plenty of breathing space so you can turn into whatever you want in the mid to late game.
All right. Then we've got Pied Piper of Hamelin, which is great against any of the Necromancer lists that are out there. Also, great against any wizards, because you would draw the cards. Chances are your opponent will decide they don't want to cast their wizard if they do that, but that's just something to know. That'll stop your opponent from being able to cast Grandmaster Wizards. Polymorph, great, cheap removal.
Same space as Immolation, probably not as strong, even though it's a little bit easier on the threshold because it does give them the frog that they can then block with. But it is just another like cheap, clean removal spell to deal with their like big 4-butt blocker that's messing up your day, and then you'd still be able to 2-spell.
Let's talk about a couple of the unique minions here. Morgana Le Fay, it's a draw 3 for 3 mana, right? Ruler of Thul. Ruler of Thul is sick in this particular build of the deck, especially if you can get a Plague of Frogs. If you can Plague of Frogs and they all stay on the board and you've got them at your site, and then you cast Ruler of Thul and you're able to switch over to the Interrogator, you can put your opponent in a position where they either have to take 21 damage or make you draw 7 cards or some combination between the two of those things. And you're off to the races if that happens.
Just be mindful that once you connect the edges of the realm, that now your opponent, if they are interested in taking the mask off you, might be easier for them to just like tag you with something. So it's conditional, but at the same time, like you're already looking to get into their space anyway. So if you're on either edge of the realm, like you're gonna.
Well, you don't have to worry about that with Ruler of Thul because it's allies can move, so they're not going to come back over to you.
Never mind, then I take it all back.
You're thinking of Magellan Globe.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Salt the Earth, just another classic, like, let's deal with this card, like, just deals with a site you might not like kind of card. Mesmerism, again, like, these are all the obvious, like, yeah, if you're playing water, if you're playing fire, you should have these in your deck cards. But again, they're not cheap, so you don't include these in the budget list, right?
And also, you can be mindful too. Like
Archangel,
your Infiltrate is going to do just like a similar work to Mesmerism. Obviously, not as like
exactly,
final, but at the same time, like once you lean into this, then you got to start looking at your like Atlas in a big way because 4 water threshold is really deep. Same thing with Archangel Raphael. Like Raphael is, excellent, right? In an aggro list, you're just striking the opponent's avatar. If you need to take a protective slant, so that way you can keep a mask on, you give your own avatar a ward. Like bread and butter ABCs, like good on the when you're ahead, good when you're behind. Does it all, but at the same time, it is 4 water threshold. So if you're looking at ways to improve the deck and don't want to like spend too much of your bank all at once, like I would say put the heavy threshold stuff on the back burner.
Yeah. Of course, Atlantean Fate, like Atlantean Fate's a card. I think it's like $26, $24, something like that.
You're going to use it in everything.
If you don't have an Atlantean Fate, you should have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the most powerful cards in the game. More powerful in my opinion than Ring of Morgan or Philosopher Stone is Atlantean Fate. If you're playing water, we should have one of these, and you should have it now as opposed to later when they become more expensive as organized play season ramps up. Balor of the Evil Eye, just solid on rate, 6 mana, 6 power guy that can do damage to each other minion at one location. One unit at each other location in a cardinal direction. So that thing is very good. Your opponent can't block it either. It's it's
great to pierce through, great at door when they're at door. Like,
and
great job, man.
It says location.
Shoot them root spiders.
Will that hit a root spider?
Yeah, it's each location.
No. It's site. Never mind. It doesn't hit root spiders.
It does.
That's not. Because it's saying location. Location is here and there. A site would be the entire site.
We're gonna need people to get in the comments on that one. I'm pretty sure that you can hit like at each site. You can hit something above and below if it's there because
but this isn't saying a site; it's saying a location.
Right, but it's saying at each location, each other location.
Oh, okay.
So there are 2 locations at each site.
I see. Yeah. So it could hit the void as well. We'll see. I'm
no,
still
it can't hit the void.
100%.
It can't hit the void. It'll
Why wouldn't
clear
it be able to
the
hit the void? Why would it be able to hit the void? The void's location.
Is it? Can Balor go through the void?
And why not?
Get in the comments.
If it can hit it can hit underground, it can hit a void. Anyhow, and then finally, Green Knight. Green Knight is a great defensive card, but also it can just like completely like up in the board for your opponent and make things very difficult for them. One of the main reasons I love this card is because your opponent can't do anything in response to it. They have to immediately start attacking it. After they draw a card, they don't get to cast a card. They don't get to like you'll be like, oh, I'll activate this ability. Everything that happens has to happen immediately if it's a must attack. So your opponent basically just throws all their guys into this, and if this is bigger than your opponent's guys to kill them, they go away. They just die.
And just be mindful that as you're like using whatever additional budget you have that you're looking to do on this, if you do like to stay aggressively slanted, that it is also better to put the more expensive stuff, even if super powerful, also on the back burner of things to prioritize. You're not going to add a ton of expensive stuff if you're looking to stay super aggressive. As we were talking about, one of the benefits of staying aggressive is the ability to 2-spell early, that way you can keep your opponent on the back foot. And if you're sitting there stranded with, 1 or 2 6-drops in hands and not actually deploying to the board, that's going to be the difference between you winning and losing that game. So if you really like the aggressive slant, it's going to be better to get the expensive, cheaper stuff first. You know what I mean? Like even though it costs more money, it is less mana. Like, get the less mana stuff first.
Yeah. I want to also point out that the 3D board printout by our friend Cristiano, that GoFundMe is still up. We'll have a link for that. But they're offering some extra like bonuses for that. If you want to back that, they're going to bring that to Sorcery Con. So they're trying to get everybody to like help them out with. He's in Brazil, so it'll be really cool to see that. So there's they wrote up something on Eric's Curiosity on the official website, so we'll have a link to that. This got them to get to Sorcery Con. I think that this is going to be like the cost of the trip, the customs fees, insurance, all that stuff. And then what is it? There's also on this project, there's this cool like community thing that he's doing, which we'll highlight as well. He's just very supportive of the sorcery community, and it's a really cool project that I wanted to make sure that we got some eyes on. And they're raffling off some extra like cool stuff for the people that support them. So it's pretty cool. I think it's like they raffle off the auction as many people are aware of the offer, which is basically like there's a guest thing that you have to do to like get into the raffle. Super fun. You can follow him on Instagram, and I'll link the Instagram below because that's probably the best place to engage with that content. We're not really Instagram people or Facebook people per se, but I wanted to make sure that we pointed that out. Of course, as always, you can support us and get these episodes early, which is important because sometimes these prices change a little bit. You can get these episodes early at patreon.com/eternaldurdles, or we also offer these episodes early on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube right now and you're watching this right now and you'd like to see these episodes a little bit earlier, just hit the join button below, and for $5 a month, you can have all these episodes early. That's all of our sorcery episodes that aren't. I think we only have one rank for sorcery as far as getting in is concerned. So if you want to join us on Patreon, you can join us at the Magician's tier or the Sorcerer tier. The Magician's tier gets you Magic the Gathering content as well if you're a Magic person. And beyond that, we also have the website as well. And I'm sure you saw the ad that we have in this episode about our new sponsors there. So that's cool. And also, if you want to check out or contribute, you can go to eternaldurdles.com, and there is a submit an article button, and that'll send you over to Phil, and we'll get that set up for you. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you on the flip.